You, am I technically in the proper Star Wars lore? If I don't just call him Kylo Ren, he's also Ben Solo, right? Like if I say Ben Solo, is that also accurate? Or no? Can he not be Ben Solo, or is he rejected Ben Solo and I should not use those words? Wow, he's really thinking about it.
Yes and no.
Okay, well, let me ask you. My question is, in your performance of Kylo Ren, did you allow Ben Solo and who he was before to influence the way that you played Kylo? Or once you entered into Kylo Ren, were you in a completely different space? Did you bring his legacy and his heritage into the performance with you in this piece?
In this one?
Yes.
I think maybe subconsciously. I don't think it's when people are actively trying to deny a certain part of their lives, I think they can do it pretty successfully. And then it just turns into what is happening around them that brings it out in them. So I think maybe, but it's not. I don't think it's something that we actively talked about playing it. But it definitely is the thought to have.
And since you...
But that's, again, I think that's a testament to the writing that from the beginning it was never someone, from the beginning it being called Force Awakens was intentional in that it was the Force Awakening for both sides, the light and the dark. And JJ, even in those first meetings, talking about someone who is unformed and not a, quintessential, in control, of his faculties, knows where he fits in the, which again is helpful for me as an actor because we are figuring out the same thing. It totally echoes what's going on in the story, especially in the first one, new cast, figuring out where you fit, in a legacy that spans, so much time. The end. So that was helpful, but I guess in similar in that, I guess it's a subconscious thought in playing it. I guess it's also a subconscious thought as me as an actor thinking about it.
J.J. Abrams was here yesterday talking with George, and he said he just wrapped up everything on Sunday. He also said there was a major security breach, that somebody let their script get out of their hands and it landed on eBay.
And apparently people assume it was me.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to throw the person under the bus who it is, but there is someone else potentially coming on the show this week who can answer the question as to who that was.
Oh, you're good.
But it wasn't me.
I know, and we know who's coming up later this week, so we'll let people look at the TV guide and figure that one out. Well, you're good.
Man, J.J. Abrams was here on Monday, gave some breaking news.
Oh,
He said someone lost the script, and the script ended up on eBay. And Daisy Ridley was here, and Daisy said, it's not me.
Daisy says it's not her?
And she said it wasn't her, so I'm curious, whose script was it?
All right, guys, it was me.
Oh!
Wait.
How did that happen?
Look, let me tell you how this all went down.
Well, what happened was...
Look, what happened was, it was actually from my apartment. I was moving apartments, and I left the script under my bed. I was just like, you know what, I'm going to leave it under my bed. When I wake up in the morning, I'll take it and then move. But then my boys came over and, we started partying a little bit. And then the script just just stayed there. And then a few weeks after, this cleaner comes in, finds this script, and then puts it on eBay for £65. So the person didn't know the true value, And I actually thought this is a great opportunity for the fans to read the movie before they see it. Maybe I'm onto something. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sure that's exactly what JJ had in mind when he gave you that script. Let him read it first.
It was scary, man. I was like, I got calls from every official. Even Mickey Mouse called me like, what did you do? Well, good though, man.
But it all worked out. It all worked out in the end.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about Lando and how you approached it as an actor, coming back to a part so many years later. Did you look at the previous films? Did you just, use the script that was in front of you? What was your process as an actor to get back to him?
I have a lot of admiration for this young man called Monsieur J.J. Abrams.
Yes.
And it was pretty much, when I worked with George, that was an opportunity to work with somebody who was really extraordinary. And here again, I have an opportunity to work with somebody who's really extraordinary. Actually, we worked together when he was doing Lost. I played myself playing a killer, which I thought was a very interesting idea. And I thought, this guy is really crazy. But fabulously crazy. But anyway, this has been a great pleasure for me, coming back to do Lando. I didn't think that it would happen. I just wrote it off, you know. And I said, well, I did what I had to do, and that was it. But when I got the call from JJ, and then when we met, I just sat there and I just chuckled, you know, because I thought it was just a wonderful gift.
Yeah.
So I'm a very, very happy human being right now.
You know, Carrie, I love Felicity. I love that show so much.
Oh,
and
thanks.
JJ obviously created the show.
Yep.
I was curious, the JJ you worked with then and the JJ you worked with now, what you saw in JJ back when you did Felicity that is still with him now in regards to how has he changed and evolved as a filmmaker from that moment?
He's exactly the same.
Really?
In fact, when I tested for Felicity, I am a really nervous person, especially in high stress or in social situations. And I had auditioned for them, and then I had to go in again for the big wigs or whatever, and I bombed so much so that JJ pulled me inside this room, and there was some ridiculous poster of whoever was doing a show at the time. He's like, "What's going on? Listen to me. Snap out of it. Do you want to be on a network with people like this?" It was like some like it was hilarious. He's like, "Look at it. I mean, look at the way." He has such an immediacy and a way to make things feel so human always and funny, and he's very inclusive, but it feels exactly the same. It's the exact same. He's so energetic and alive with possibilities always, and I think he says yes all the time, and I say no all the time. Do you know what I mean? That's who he is.
Can you tell me about the process of integrating Carrie Fisher into the film and how you worked her to the story, the footage you had found from The Force Awakens, and what that process is like, even emotionally, for you and everyone involved?
Yes, I like everyone here who knew her, loved Carrie, and I knew her for a long time, not very well, but I knew her for a while before Force Awakens, and you know, obviously, as we've discussed, the idea of continuing the story without Leia wasn't a possibility, and there was no way we were going to do a digital Leia. There was no way we were, of course, ever recast it, but we couldn't do it without her. And when we went back to look at the scenes that we hadn't used in Force Awakens, what we realized is we had an opportunity, and we could use that footage, use the lines that she was saying, use literally the lighting. That was amazing. Okay, watch this. The lighting. That was creepy. Hi, Carrie.
Yeah.
Hi, Carrie. That's so Carrie, by the way, to do that.
Yep.
Really weird. In any event, we knew that we had an opportunity to use the footage to create scenes that Leia would be in. And of course, had Carrie been around, and it's still impossible for me to believe that, you know, she isn't, because we've been editing with her for about a year, and she's been very much alive with us in every scene. And it ended up being, you know, if we had Carrie around, would we have done some different things here and there? Of course we would have. But we had an opportunity to have Carrie in the movie, and working with all the actors, including Billie Lourd, her daughter, who's in scenes with her, we were able to, I think, do something that Carrie herself, I'd like to think, would be happy with. She's great in the movie, of course, and it's still emotional and moving to think of her and how sad we all are that she's not sitting here with us today.
I know we can't talk a lot about episode 9 specifically, which is strange because we're doing interviews for episode 9, but I'm curious for you specifically in regards to Carrie Fisher, and I love that they're not using CGI, but they're using actual footage from 7 and 8. And I was curious if in scenes you have to do in 9 with her character, how do you achieve the emotional connection there or do the scene without giving context to it if the character's gonna be dropped in digitally later from real footage she shot?
Well, they have, often they'll have a stand-in person that's dressed in the wardrobe for a lot of those scenes. And so you just do what you do normally as an actor, as you imagine the situation. But it was definitely unusual knowing that this was all kind of being worked around this pre-existing footage. But you know, the movies are illusions, and that actually happens often, where you know you'll be shooting one side of a scene, and the other side's been shot a long time ago with other actors, and you know that's part of, especially making these kinds of films, that you know all these little bits and pieces that have to go into making the clockwork.
Then you see it and you go, "That's what you did."
Exactly.
No one told me you did that face.
I know.
Was it strange to watch it?
It was, because there's so many bits and pieces. There's so many elements. It's like Baroque in the amount of all these little bits and pieces. And so seeing, oh, that's when they had me say that one line and I didn't know what I was saying. Oh, that was that point in the movie? I didn't even know that, you know.
Totally.
So there's you know, you kind of have to give it up a bit. You go on and you try to be as invested and try to tell the story that you believe you're telling, and then you trust that JJ and the filmmakers will use it in the most you know, powerful way.
I noticed you getting kind of geeked out about the celebrities around you.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit.
I mean, I was stood next to Angelina Jolie.
Right?
Right? Angelina Jolie. And then it was cool because Chris Pratt, I'd played a game with him. When we were doing Orient Express, we did like game nights every weekend.
Yeah.
So Chris Pratt came, but obviously then I'm like, why would Chris Pratt remember me? And he was like, hey, Daisy. Like, oh, I'm like in the thing. I know people at these things. Yes, it was great.
And do you ever go back in the time where you were, you know, maybe you got your first pilot or your first short film and you thought that was going to be the pinnacle of your career and said, wait a minute, where am I?
Well, the thing I thought was going to be my break was a part in a TV show. So I quit my pub job and I was so thrilled. And then I got a call the next day and my agent said, you need to sit down, the part's been cut. And it was honestly a horrifying moment because I was like, I genuinely quit my job.
Sure.
But now I think they actually gave me a tiny bit, and weirdly the scene's about John Williams, which is all a bit spooky. But I think now I'm so grateful for those things because, you know, learning.
It's cool to be able to share the load. I guess I've been on this journey with Daisy really more than anyone else, just in terms of circumstance and understanding of culture. Well, pretty much there's a 100% understanding of our background and where we're from. And then while we were auditioning, obviously we were, you know, I had more money than Daisy when we were auditioning. I think you had like £17.55 in your account. And it was in minus too, so she was definitely going over the transaction limit. And we were just able to relate on that, even that kind of level where it's, you know, most of the time actors have this kind of like, you know, kind of mystery about the personal things. We stripped that bare, and I think that having this connection more than anything, like if I feel any type of way, or if I experience something that's weird, or if I'm at a store and I'm like, oh, I just saw something, I always just message Daisy, because I just know that that's somebody that would 100%, you know, relate. And I guess this way has been my way of experiencing, you know, the whole thing. But it's definitely also been a huge life change for all of us, and that in itself is exciting.
You won't hear Darth Vader say, "Luke, I'm your daddy."
You won't hear Obi-Wan Kenobi say, "Dang it, I forgot to wear Spanx under my robe today. Hashtag Jedi fail."
You won't hear Yoda say, "Just saw Dobby from Harry Potter on Tinder. Did I? Right swipe, I will."
You won't hear Finn say, "The only reason I switched sides was because I saw the Can You Hear Me Now guy switch from Verizon to Sprint, so."
You won't hear Luke Skywalker say, "I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?"
You won't hear C-3PO say, okay, boomer.
You won't hear Supreme Leader Snoke say, I just took a DNA test. Turns out I'm 100% that Sith.
You won't hear Boba Fett say, I like hunting for the Millennium Falcon, but I love hunting for Black Friday deals at Kohl's.
You won't hear Rey say, BB-8, you still need to Wait, that's some American stuff. Venmo? Wait, let me take it again.
Yeah.
You won't hear Rey say, BB-8, you still need to Venmo me for the Uber. You're around, bitch.
The end.